Oh, hi there. I'm just trying to look up at the moon because that's where I'm going to have to go live after I share these cringy stories with you. Welcome to part 2 of things that I regret as a teacher. I teach in New Jersey. I've taught middle school. I've taught high school. Is it just me? Like, my head is totally shaped like a peanut. What's your name?
Gabrielle.
What's mommy's job?
Teacher.
Hey folks, thanks for joining. Alexa Borota here. I'm about to share with you 5 more cringy things I regret doing as a teacher. If you have not already seen part 1, go check out part 1. I'm not gonna make this vlog very long and torture myself, so let's just get to it. So my very first year of teaching, it's hard to prepare yourself for how you're going to react for all these different situations. And I found myself in a situation where I took off a student's hat. Let me tell you what happened. I'm in the hallway. There was this boy, and I can't begin to tell you the things that he was yelling in the hallway. At the time, we were very hyper-focused on no hats in the building. Like literally hyper-focused on no hats, no hoodies. It's my first year. I'm just trying to follow the rules. I asked him to take his hat off, and I'm gonna leave it up to your imagination. Hey, Gabrielle, don't rip my book. I'm gonna leave it up to your imagination what he yelled at me in the hallway. I just remember thinking to myself, no, I am not going to let this kid run away from me with his hat on after just talking to me like that. So I didn't run, but I walked quickly after him. I saw that he went up to the 3rd floor, so I walked up to the 3rd floor. And when he saw me, he started with his mouth. I remember remaining calm, and I asked him, please, can you please just take your hat off? F you. It was awful. I walked up to him and I took his hat off. So stupid. I don't even like sharing this story because hearing the stories I've heard about other teachers, I am lucky that this was the only thing that happened after I took his hat off. He grabbed my wrist and he twisted my wrist. I didn't tell anybody. I told his teacher about the situation with the hat and the profanity he was using in the hallway, but I didn't tell anyone that he twisted my wrist because I blamed myself for taking off his hat. There are teachers who have had a lot worse done to them. I sometimes share this story when I get students who hate their teacher and they say really nasty things about their teacher. Like they might say, I would never put my hands on a teacher, but if they this or if they that. And I will tell them my story about how I made the wrong choice of taking off this student's hat. And then I would ask them, do you think that I deserve what you're saying this teacher would deserve if they did that to you? I said, I made a mistake. I said, teachers make mistakes. We're human. When you're in the moment like that, you don't always have all the time to think things through. It doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make the teacher that you're complaining right now a bad person. I do share that story. And every time I share that story, the moment I say, it's like the climactic part, the moment I say that I took the kid's hat off, they go, and they'll start shaking their heads like this because they know that if a teacher had done that to them, what they might do was never, ever put myself in that situation, not even close ever again. And hey, that happened my first year. 2, lashing out during a PLC meeting. Now, when I say lashing out, that's extreme. I did not actually lash out. I could not even tell you if my colleagues who were here in this moment even remember this, but I do. I remember very well. So here's what happened. Again, I'm in my first year of teaching. I am working nonstop. I am at school early. I am not getting home till near 6 o'clock. And sometimes I would get home at 6 and I would still work. I'm not even gonna get into those conversations. Check out part 1. It's one of the things I regret is how much I isolated myself and just didn't stop working in the beginning. But anyway, I felt like I really needed these PLC meetings to help guide me in what I was doing. And I had a situation where I just couldn't take anymore the complaining. I wanted to learn. The moment that our supervisor would let us go to learn, or the moment that they would, ask us if we had any questions, in that moment, I just felt like all my colleagues did around me was complain. All the things that, we tend to complain about during PLC meetings. But I had a question that I really wanted answered during that meeting, and I waited so patiently to ask my question. But everyone, they just kept talking over each other, and it was just all this complaining. I just went,
oh my God, can everybody stop talking?
Exactly that. I went, oh my God, can everybody just stop talking?
Oh my goodness. If it isn't Little Miss Attitude.
And I just remember silence. Silence. Can you think of like the aftermath of that? Imagine someone tells you, your peer, your colleague, someone new at that, tells you during a PLC to stop talking. What? What did you just say to me? At the time, I just wanted to get out of there. At the time, like, I didn't really care. At the time, I had this mindset, like, you know, I'm better off in my own classroom right now figuring out the answer to this question than sitting here. But I only felt that way because I was never giving myself a break. I could have asked my question. I was just going through all that new teacher stuff. My anxiety was through the roof. My breaking point was me saying what I said to my colleagues. Regret 3. Ooh, this one is bad. Okay. My regret has everything to do with toilet paper. Let me explain. I'm new. Not that it matters, because this could happen tomorrow and it would still be just as embarrassing. I'm being evaluated. I knew I was being evaluated. I knew she was coming in. It was our bilingual supervisor. She told me she was coming in. I was ready, so here's what happened. Oh, it was so embarrassing. Before this class, I went to the bathroom. Class started. I'm teaching. She walks in, she sits down, and she does what supervisors do when they evaluate. Something was wrong. I knew right off the bat something was wrong. Not with her. She was just plain Jane doing her thing. It was my students. It's like, if you have kids, you know when something's not right. I knew something wasn't right, but you know, I was in the middle of an evaluation and I just kind of ignored whatever the elephant in the room was and waited, right? There was a lot more silence than usual. This was a very talkative bunch, but they kept looking at each other. Like, I saw the side eyes. Why are all these students given the side eye? I really wasn't thinking too much into it because I was just very focused on my lesson. And then I started hearing giggles. I'm being evaluated and there's side eyes going and giggles from my students. So when my supervisor leaves, as soon as the door closed, I turned around and I went,
What is wrong with you guys?
and one of my students gets up and goes, that to my back. You guys, I had like a roll of toilet paper hanging out of my pants, like a full-blown tail of toilet paper, and nobody told me. They were out of their seats laughing. I was mortified. So, you know, when you go to the bathroom, just make sure you got all the toilet paper and double check before an evaluation. All right, regret 4 is kind of embarrassing. Crying in front of my students. There have only been 2 times I have cried in front of my students, guys. One was I found out that my mother passed away while I was teaching. You could imagine I was a wreck. It was very unexpected. I cried in front of my students and it makes me cringe. Like, I regret it, okay? It was my first year. They really struggled with English, like really struggled. And so I was struggling with teaching them. No matter what I did, I just felt everybody needed my undivided attention. I was working around the clock. I'm teaching and I just remember I was so exhausted and they weren't paying attention. They were doing whatever it is they were doing and it hit me. I felt it, that I was gonna cry. So what I did, and I wasn't gonna be able to stop it. So I went to the class phone by the door. I picked it up and I stepped out of my classroom into the hallway and I was pretending to be on the phone. And I was just like sobbing. Oh my God. I just acted like there was something going on that they didn't know about. And I told them, I was like, oh, I'll be okay. I was crying because I was overwhelmed. Like I had no energy, just all those feelings. And I was really embarrassed walking into the classroom, just red face. And, you know, and I could only communicate so much because they didn't speak a whole lot of English. So I remember all of those classes my first year. They were great. The tough part was everything else. All right, the last thing that I regret, number 5, not sticking up for myself. I don't want anyone to watch this and try to like figure out who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say at what point in my career any of this happened. There was something that my administrators were asking me to do that I knew was completely illegal. It didn't make any sense. It was very difficult what they were asking me to do. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. So I went to a union rep about it just to ask them. And my union rep took it upon herself to go to my admin about my question, which I could have just done myself, but she was really just trying to help, so it was fine. And as a response, my admin teamed up on me. They found me one day in the library. I say ganged up because that's what it felt like. They brought up the question I had looked into and kind of started to question why I went to a union rep about it. That's fine. It's the next part that made me go, okay. They were like referring to my job and the reasons they hired me, and in their own way were kind of saying things to me like, don't you like this job? Didn't you want this job? No, you're asking me to do something completely doesn't make sense, and it's impossible for me to do. Like, it'd be legal if you were paying me more to do it. In the process, I'm feeling like a terrible teacher because I cannot perform these impossible tasks. So yes, I asked for help, and they were anything but empathetic of that. Here comes the regret. I didn't stick up for myself. I apologize for not just going directly to them, which is fine, sort of. They never, ever actually addressed the issue. They didn't address it at all. They completely ignored it. And the whole conversation was about me and my job and why I was hired and do I really want that position? That is not right. Don't ever not stick up for yourself, because if I would have continued to deal with situations like that and I just did not feel supported by administration, I would be one of those teachers who left. You cannot teach without losing your mind if you do not have a supportive administration. In that moment, I felt so unsupported, felt like they hated me. It all worked out for the best. And like, I even wonder to this day if they truly knew how doing what they did made me feel. I remember telling my fiance at the time that I would not do that another year. I'm like, I'll finish this year out, but if I have to do this again, like I can't do this. If you like this and did not see part 1, maybe you want to check that out. Regrets, mistakes, they're going to happen. Don't beat yourself up over them. See you next time. Bye.